I think you need to start out with an apology. That's what you should do.
Yeah. For
Yeah, all the things.
all the things. Well, here's the funny thing. An apology is like how when you go away, say just for 3 days, and you come back to the office, and it feels like you're behind, not three
You
days,
are. You are.
not
Yeah.
necessarily 3 weeks. It feels like I'm behind 3 months.
Yeah. I don't even go
And
into a quote office and I feel like that. So,
well, yeah. I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I no longer do either, and yet still work in an
But
office,
it's
and
it's
then
funny
I go
because like
away.
you don't have that commute time. You don't have to walk to those meetings and go sit and have the chat before the meeting and have the chat after the meeting. You actually get to leave the virtual meeting. And there's
Yeah.
still no time. Like you still
Oh,
yeah.
I was talking with somebody today, and they're like, "Man, I've been so swamped." And so I pulled up and I showed them my calendar, and they're like, "Okay, I thought I was swamped, but what is that mess?" And
This
I'm
is
just like,
everybody's
I
mess now.
know,
There's not
right?
even time to work
Have you
in that
seen like
calendar,
those
right?
reels and stuff where they're just like, okay, so you have 8 hours of meetings. Now you have to have like the 8 hours of like actual work time. And it's like, what?
Where do those come from? That's what AI is for. That's the answer. Can it redline those drawings for you? Can
Can
it
it,
mark up that proposal for you? I mean, AI wrote the
can,
proposal. The RFP was written by AI. They're just basically talking to each other at this point. So
there you go.
what's the point? What's the
Let's,
point?
I mean, if I could get that to be the case, that would be awesome. If I could get them to do the red lines, that would be awesome. Honestly, if I could get them to just attend the meetings. Actually, when I
Well,
was
that's what they
talking
do.
to,
That's what the AI. That's what. How
well,
many
well,
AI
they,
bots do you need to join your Zoom meeting nowadays?
oh my
Somebody
gosh.
told me that they. I don't remember if it was them personally or a friend of theirs, but they showed up to a meeting and they were the only actual person there. Everything else was an
So,
AI note taker.
so how exactly
We're
is
at
that?
peak. We're at peak
Well,
AI.
where's the conversation then? Where's like the actual like
Right.
like
Right.
how do
Well,
you how do you
obviously
have a meeting
everybody.
if you're like the only live person there?
Yeah, the meeting obviously must have been just a presentation. I guess
I
one
mean,
person has to speak. Everybody else gets the summary.
that's crazy. See, because so now I will go to a meeting and I will have my AI companion from Zoom,
They could just
and
talk to
they will
you.
have their AI companion, and they'll be on and we'll be talking, and then what's funny is then we share notes at the end of the meeting, and each of them are pretty much the exact same thing.
Oh
Like,
yeah, right.
can't just one, like, you don't need, although this could probably piss some people off, but what good is an intern if you have an AI taking the notes for you? That's going to be, teaches you how to listen. It teaches you how to pay attention. It teaches you how to be present in the meeting.
Which is
Um,
difficult when you're writing or typing
that was the word. It was
while
literally,
listening. It's you're typing something and you can't be listening at the same. I couldn't be listening at the same
oh,
time. Yeah, I'm not a
so
stenographer, right?
I am so 100% thankful for the AI companion because normally I do like to take notes. And sometimes I will pull out the old like little notepad and you can sort of see some notes on here. I take a lot of notes and stuff, right? But if you notice, they're all like short little like crib notes
Right,
more than
right.
anything else because I can't sit down and like write out
Oh,
exactly what
for
I'm
sure.
hearing to do that. Where I was going with that is that it it now offers me the ability to actually like be present in the conversation, talk or lead the conversation as
Hmm.
necessary, and then go back and say, "Oh, is that what I said?"
Yeah, exactly. Well, and those are actually the best kind of meetings when you can really talk about things that you didn't plan
Yeah.
on talking about. Of course, that back and forth is useful, and a lot of times a prompt that is on a slide or in your agenda is going to be useful, but it's the real thought That's the whole
Yeah,
purpose of the meeting right there, is to figure things out. And that
exactly.
happens in real time. And that isn't necessarily something that you can recall later because
And
it's work.
right. And
Yeah.
and even and the good thing is that at least like the Zoom AI companion, when you are sketching, it's taking both video and audio or it's transcribing, but it's also taking a video, so
Recording it. Yeah.
recording it and things like that. And so you can do that. And then periodically, if you like actually need to like screenshot what you're doing, you can do that too. But so we,
Mhm.
we had we had this ongoing debate between people who are power users of Microsoft Teams versus power users of Zoom.
Mhm.
Which one is better and why?
That
And
sounds religious. Yeah.
it funny enough, it feels that way sometimes. It's just like, you've got the Zoom evangelists, you've got the Teams evangelists, you've got the whatever other
Well,
productivity.
don't you guys have both in your
We have
office?
both. I unfortunately am forced to use Teams for one project. And if I have the choice to like establish a meeting, it's always Zoom. Um, and the reason being, why is that? Because I
Why is that?
sketch.
Because of the
I
whiteboard.
sketch. No, it's not even a whiteboard. So if somebody is sharing the screen and they're sharing, like,
Oh,
say,
you
a
can just,
floor
yeah.
plan or whatever,
Okay.
you can annotate right on the screen while you're talking. And,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, you don't have to like, wait, let me do a little screen capture. Okay, hold on. Now I'm gonna bring that up and we're gonna draw over the top of that. Like, let's just it's part of
So you're part of this. You're part of the Zoom religion. That's what I'm hearing.
and part of the Zoom religion is what you're hearing.
Yes.
Oh,
I
praise
see.
the Zoom. God, I wish I was and I wish I had the forethought to invest in that during COVID.
Unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, I agree with you. I do agree with you. Unfortunately, Teams is highly embedded in corporate America and probably corporate everywhere, but especially architecture firms because they're running Microsoft networks and they've got everything else Microsoft. Everyone's running Outlook and they're running Windows operating systems and all those things. And I totally agree with you though. Teams is a
Let me
piece of hot trash.
so let me go one step further. I'm on a Teams call, right? Somebody makes the mistake of saying, "Hey, Cormac, can you share your screen?" Sure, I can share the screen. You see the one screen that I bring up initially.
I think you've told me about this.
It
You have a Microsoft
and
laptop, right?
I
You
and
actually
and
have a Microsoft branded laptop,
I can't.
and
You can't
you
see
have
it,
to
unfortunately.
unshare and reshare for
Share
every single
every
slide you want to go
single
to.
time I move. And if they say, "Well, if you look at my cursor," and I'm trying to point, and they're like, "I don't see your cursor. Hold on." And then you
You have to do
literally
the
only get
dance,
like, it's like,
the
man,
Teams
like how
dance.
how is it that I have a Teams hardware or a Microsoft hardware, Microsoft software, and they don't work together?
Your laptop's old though, right? It's
No, no, no.
old.
Do you know how many people? Well, it's funny that you say that. It's not that old. Uh, you should know because
I
you
was gonna
bought
say it's
one.
like 6 months old. What? I don't know how old it
Exactly.
is.
But do you know how many people actually have that problem? I finally, somebody else was on some of the similar meetings, and this is for my Saudi Arabian project. And somebody was just like, so the client already knows. And somebody says, Cormac, can you share the screen? The client will chime in and say, you don't know what you're asking for. And you're just like, great. Now I'm the butt of a joke, which is
You are
awesome.
well known. Your
Exactly.
problems are well known. Yes.
Exactly. So then they share their screen and does the exact same thing. I'm like,
Oh,
uh-huh.
it's contagious.
I was like, see, he was like, to the client, I was like, see, it's not just me. And he's just like, well, and then kind of and says, okay, well, I accept that it's an inherent flaw with this big mega company. But
These you would think that these tools would be better. This is an issue with
it's a tool, all right.
it's a tool.
It is completely 100% a tool.
This is the same with our production tools, though, I have to say. It's just like, really?
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah.
like this? Or really, it doesn't do that? Or really, it doesn't work with this type of, oh my God, it's just over and over. It's, It is maddening. And
I
it's funny that because you said, like, you basically outlined that you have to do the Teams dance when you
Mhm.
want when you have to use
Yeah.
Teams. But there's a podcast I recorded recently, and it was like, what do you see the future of architecture and AI? And it was like, oh, you're gonna have to learn how to dance
Eh,
because
yeah.
things are changing, and you have to be
Yeah.
agile, and you have to be on your toes, and this
Yeah.
technology is keeping you on your toes, and it's not a comfortable place to be, for sure.
I mean, you get to a point where I guess it just I mean, like everything else, everything that we were fearful of when it was coming to take your job or make your life easier, you get used to it, and it becomes a pencil, right? Or a stylus. You know,
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
it just becomes an extension of like your day to day. And I like some of the productivity tools are anti-productivity tools because they're not implemented correctly. I was just having I was having a conversation about I'm not going to say the product name, but a productivity tool that is widely used by architecture firms, especially large architecture firms, that seems so counterintuitive to everything that you think about how it's supposed to be done. This does it just the opposite. And it's just I, I I don't want to get off on a tangent because I don't want to lose my train of thought. But it was
Well,
just one
we
of
haven't
these
even
things. It's
started
like,
this episode yet.
that's true.
You said
That's
you
true.
you said you had a way into this
No, no, no.
conversation. This
I
this
said
was
I had
not
a.
it.
I said I have a. I can kick us off by basically just saying, why is it that when you try to take time off,
Uh-huh.
even the shortest time off turns out that it puts you so far behind. Like I purposely, the night before I left for just a little mini vacation to go to a Formula One race with my daughter, all I wanted to do was to have some fun and not check any email. Emptied
How'd
out
that
my
work out?
emptied out all of my emails, personal, school, office, all of it was like zero when I like clicked off. Thousands. And I cannot thousands of emails. And you're like, really? Either A, am I that important? Or B, do you really have that much to say? It was amazing how much.
This is what you came back to.
It's so funny. It's like you put that out of office reply in, right? And they say, "Hey, Cormac, I know that you're out of office right now, but would you mind taking a look at like you're talking
Well,
to an
have you
email
trained
that's
them
saying I'm
previously?
ignoring you."
Have you taught them previously that you were available even when you weren't?
Do you know that answer?
Yes, I do.
I was going to say, I believe you know that answer.
We have talked about this before. This is not a new.
But
Uh-huh.
remember what I told you, like turning over a new leaf, and that leaf has actually been pretty well turned over. Like when I
Okay, so
step away from the
can we
office,
take it
I
to the
really do.
next level? We need to take this to the next level. Like, why
But
do you do so much? Why are you responsible to do so much, even when you need to take 3 little days off? Like,
good, good
describe your
question.
position. What's your role? Do you lead teams or
I
are you
lead
the
teams.
team?
I
Yeah.
lead teams.
And how effective are you at this job?
Wow, that hurts. Ouch. Let me hold on. Get it.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's rough to be in those position
Get it.
of being responsible, and there's
Well,
so much to do. There's obviously more to do than your team can get done in the amount of time they have to get it done in.
true, true. And in the nature of things, and this because you've been in the rat race of the firm life and higher ed and all of this other stuff, where people and we've had this. Remember, we've had this conversation numerous times about
Mhm.
there's no such thing as a architectural emergency, except for how do you tell that to the people who think that everything that you're not saying immediately is not an emergency?
Yeah, well, and that it's just like well, and man, this goes way beyond the subject that we're talking about right now. It's just like
Right.
everything's amplified. Everything is
Yeah.
to the max. Everything is urgent and super important. And it's like not everything can live in that quadrant of the Eisenhower matrix. Not everything is important. Most things aren't, and not everything is urgent. Actually, most things aren't, but everything gets treated that way. And there's an expectation by everybody that you're on call. You're just on call all
Well,
the time. You're fully connected.
think about, because you got this, because you've got the computer, because you've got whatever else, that you should be readily available. It's like, hey, Evan, it's 10 o'clock at night. I just had this really great idea. Hit send. Why isn't Evan responding
Because
to
it
me?
because it was top of mind and you're afraid you're gonna forget to
Right.
even send that
Right.
message.
But I mean, it's just like, well, I'm expecting you to respond as quickly as I sent you that message. And you're like, wait, no, boundaries.
Yeah. I can't
Or,
believe we're having this conversation again.
or
But it's
I don't
not
know if it's
because
again,
oh,
it has become still.
yeah, it never
Let's
stopped.
yeah, still.
Well,
The more and
it's a
more we
constant
advance,
battle.
the more
Mhm.
and more we advance in communication, in productivity tools and everything else, it's still this constant battle with ourselves to say, well, this will help me just get it done as quickly as I can, or I could turn this around pretty quickly. Do you need to? Do you need to really turn it around quickly? Maybe there are some things that you should stew a little.
Mhm. One of the issues I think that leaders have and that more senior staff has is there is so much information, knowledge, wisdom. There's different categories of
Yeah.
this kind of thing. It's just locked in your head. It literally is
Yeah.
locked in your head. Like some of it might be in the mailbox, some of it might be in the calendar, some of it might be in the Zoom chat, some of
Right.
it might be
Right.
in the Revit model, some of it might be in the Bluebeam session, but most of it's in your head. And that's why they're going to you, right? Because, oh, where do I even look for that? Where's the latest? Where's the most current information? We
Yeah.
don't have a good way to track that because it's in so many places. And a lot of times you'll get conflicting information or overlapping information in various places. And then you look at it and you're not quite sure if it's even the
My
thing I need
my
because it's
yeah.
not the latest version.
My favorite thing that um I deal with, and obviously that's pure 100% sarcasm, is when somebody says, "Hey, can you send me this sheet?" And you're like, "You mean the sheet that you already have, that it's already been distributed to?" Yeah, yeah, but you can send it to me quicker than maybe clicking in the files that you have on your computer that could pull it up just as
You can
quickly
find
as
it
me.
faster than I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
outsourcing that task to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which, and then it's, of course, you think to yourself, well, it's client service or a consultant team player or whatever it is that you,
Giver.
however you
You're
want
a
to
giver.
define it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I get got, I mean, get given or whatever. Yeah. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I don't know the answer, man.
there
This
is
is
no
something that
answer.
you think that
So,
actually technology could help solve, but it's actually just making it worse because there's this is the 7-layer dip version of communication. It's like it's got everything. It's everywhere. Everywhere all at
yeah.
once. Everything everywhere all at once. It's just not helpful. And it's like I don't know what the chart is, but the amount of information that a firm produces every year, I want to say doubles. Let's say it quadruples. I don't know what it is, but it's a magnitude more probably. So what's that? 10? It's a
Yeah.
lot more every year. And so the challenge is getting more difficult to deal with.
Think, I don't know. This was a weird side thought that I had when you were just talking, and it kind of popped up in my head. Is like, think about if we were still drawing or still printing things out. I feel like we generate so much more informational noise now because it's so easy to generate that noise.
It
instead
looks
of
busy. It looks like you're
it,
busy.
it looks busy. Yeah.
I
And
totally get what you're saying, man.
yeah,
It's a real thing. Yeah.
it,
More for
it,
more's sake.
yeah. I was looking, I was talking to some students and they finally are printing things out instead of like,
Just looking
and
at it
we
on a screen.
just looking at it on a screen.
Yeah.
And we had a much better conversation when I had a pen in my hand and they had paper for us to talk about and we could sketch over things and do things like that. And there was a more, and this is a complete divergence, but there was more conversation, there was more interaction, there was more like just sharing of knowledge and in ideas and things like that with just the simple stroke of a pen than there was in anything that they were showing me on their screens.
Can I read you the description of what I think was our last episode that we published?
Oh no, probably the same thing.
In this episode, we discuss how taking a step back from work leads to better
Ah, yes.
architecture. We talk about concrete ways to break free from constant busyness, when to pause instead of charging ahead, and how technology can both help and hurt creative solutions.
Well, a few weeks later, and it still hasn't changed.
It just, yeah, it's kind of crushing. It's interesting that this, I mean, this is the season for what you're talking about. It sounds like to me. I mean, this is
Yeah,
like, oh, you are in this, and you are living
yeah.
it, and it is not like
I think right
tactically,
now I'm just like so
strategically.
pre.
This needs to be addressed at
Yeah.
so many firms. Is just this, because there's somebody in leadership who's like, oh, IT's taking care of this, or the project manager's taking care of this, or whoever it
Well,
is. Oh, they've got this. And it's like, actually, we
think
don't
about
have
think of
this.
think about this. So we had a class. I came into class, and they were just like, "Hey, Cormac, you use Revit, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Do you know that the Revit servers are down?" And they're like, "Oh, Canvas is down. Oh, this is down. Oh, that is down." Do you recall that just like couple days ago? Like
Yeah.
there was
AWS
all
went down. Yeah. Amazon Web
uh,
Services went down.
yeah, Amazon Web Services went down, and
Hmm.
it was just like everybody was like dead in the water. You're like, not really. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk a little bit. Let's take that step back. Let's go back to the olden times. Light a
Turn it
candle.
off. Turn off the machine and have a real conversation
I
with real writing implements.
so I sit there and I kind of preach, and whether it's understood or just shoved off, what I try to tell them is that the importance of sketching, even if you're not that good at sketching, even if you, it is to capture a moment in time when you're having a free flow conversation with someone. When you're in that moment, the ideas are flowing, and it's just this. They look down at the sketches that we were doing as we were talking, and a couple of them were like, what the hell is even that? Or what am I looking at? Like,
Mhm.
you're looking at ideas, you're looking at uh, thought, you know?
Mhm.
And, and so I was just like, look harder and you'll see what you created. And they're like, okay, I understand now. And it's just like, I don't know if they were taught early in their student career, um, were taught like that kind of like, which architect was I watching some video on? I think it was Norman Foster, who was just basically waxing poetic about the connection, or it could have even been Renzo, but it was just like this, the connection between your brain and your hand. And it's like that slow transition from your brain to your hand has given your thought enough time to kind of like, I don't know if digest is a good word, percolate, whatever, but it becomes an idea that then reveals itself on the paper. And he was waxing quite poetically, and of course, me being of the old school was eating it up like, yeah, listen to him. But it was more about when I saw in their eyes when we were talking just the couple of days ago, and them kind of understanding. I was just like, does any of this? And we're looking down at like the the paper with all of these scribbles all over it and stuff. I was like, does any of this make sense? They're like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's completely clear exactly like what we're talking about. Like
What's interesting
deep.
is how the transformation, or remember how we went through the early digital days of save as. Do you remember that? So save as was like save your butt kind of a thing,
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
always did a save as when you obviously hardware was in a different place and software was in a very different place and things were buggy and they crashed all the time. And save as was your savior when things went wrong. And it was like, well, when's the last time you saved this file? Because a lot of times a crash led to a file corruption. And so we had
yeah.
to go back to the last version and then rebuild whatever
Right.
that time period was
Yeah.
of changes. And so, I mean, what's interesting about what you're talking about with the paper on the desk is you get to see the whole process, especially if you're like layering trace upon trace upon trace
Yeah.
and using different colored pens for different reasons. And you see the whole thing. And I think what's
So you've
interesting
been sitting there
there,
with me.
it's super interesting how that informs how you think, and it informs the process of design and the outcome of design. Whereas modern technology, and I'm a technologist, like you could say that, I guess.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like we don't even get to do that anymore. Like the file is the file, and there are milestones, files, archived for contract purposes, but nobody
Right.
like really goes back and look at those. Every once in a while something goes wrong and yeah, we got to go pull the archive and to grab something out of it, whatever. Or something really bad happens and yeah, we do have to go back to, because firms do like these major backups and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
yes, that still happens, but for the most part, it's just a living document nowadays, right? It's just
Right.
this thing just keeps building and changing and getting bigger and more cruft and more crap and build up, but also like it is the model. Like there's the model.
Right.
And I think that's super interesting because what you were talking about with your students is like when you look at that paper, you can see the process. You can see
Yeah.
the thought process from where we started to where and you can actually peel it back depending on how you did it with layers or not.
Mm.
Maybe you can peel it back and say, this is where we started, this is where we got to. And do you also remember when we were in school? I always remember on my final boards, my professors wanted to see design process.
Yeah.
They wanted
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
versions, as we might call them today, on, in little vignettes on the
Exactly.
boards.
Yeah.
Just so that you could, I mean, that was a tool as a presenter, as the project owner to say, well, I thought about that back here, and here's why I decided not to do that, or here's where this led me, and you can see that right here.
So a lot of the questions that I get from them is like, why do you show the process, or why do you show all these different iterations and stuff? In the conversation, always kind of like, it was like, well, think about if you're having a conversation with an owner and you present your idea and they're like, well, did you think about this? You can show them, yeah, I did think about that. And here's why I kind of moved away from that. Or here was what I thought was good about that, but then had a different idea that I kind of wanted to evolve. And that's what this is. And it's, because you are the beauty and joy of sitting down with the client and talking about design, talking about their ideas and trying to bring their ideas to life is this kind of symbiotic relationship of like their thoughts, their ideas, their wishes, their hopes, and your ability to be able to create it and bring it to life, right? And so I was trying to explain to them that, or even like the mundane things is just like, hey, did you look at putting the plumbing, the wet wall on this side instead of this side? And it's like, well, here was how I showed, thought of that. And it's just like the simple little things of like the process of doing these things. It's like, oh, I put this, it's like, this was the process the other day was, you know, they had an idea and I'm like, okay, well, why did you put that there? And they're like, well, I thought it was because of this or this. I'm like, well, but you gave up valuable real estate on the facade of your building to basically to a windowless room. Why would you do that? And I'm like, look, I'm not telling you that it's right, wrong, or indifferent. You are going to be questioned about the why so many different times. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? In the iteration process, this iterative process of like just drawing and sketching and thinking and going through this whole thing, that whole thing just is a way for you to answer the questions before you get asked them, right?
Yeah, and we used to do this in early 3D modeling. I don't know if people still do I think they do if they're using SketchUp or Rhino or something like that, where it's like,
Yeah,
okay, here's a model, there's a model right next to it, there's another model, there's another model. At some point, you might take one and copy and paste it into a new file and do that again.
right, right.
But tools like Revit, database-driven BIM tools, don't let you do that. You just literally can't do that. It would be way too much to manage. Like you have
Yeah,
a model of a building. So again, this kind of what's interesting is the tools have evolved alongside the analog days, right? Or from the analog days. And they it's interesting to kind of see this progression. And it just seems like the Zoom white the what do you call it? Markup, Zoom markup or
yeah,
whiteboarding tools like Miro, they still do you have this idea of this infinite canvas, right? Where
right, right.
you can like go work over here and mess with something and then bring it back over. And I still think there's like that's a digital version of a totally analog thing, which was I
Yeah.
have a giant desk and I have a roll of trace and I've
Well,
got modeling pieces and different Legos or whatever it is, and I'm going to build a thing and I'm going to do another version right next to it, or I'm actually just going to move the trace over and draw another one right next to it. That's a very useful tool set in an architect's
well,
toolbox.
honestly, I started moving towards, okay, I'm not going to keep walking around with a roll of trace, but I started using Morpholio and on my iPad. And so like I sit down with them and I'll have my iPad, my pencil, and I'll just, they'll start talking about ideas and stuff. And I'll sketch up that idea and show them kind of like what I'm hearing they're saying. And they're like, yeah, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And like, well, this is what this is. Do you see the value behind, like, in a way, I'm sort of showing them by doing what I'm trying to get them to do, the value of that as a communication device. And it's really, it's purely, it's the communication device. You're going to be asked so many times what, like, from the owner, why you did this, why you did that. Did you think about this? Did you think about that? And it is so much faster, so much easier to just be able to like whip out a pencil and sketch it up. I know that I sound like a broken record when I say this, and I apologize to anybody who hears me say this over and over and over again. But the value of an architect is the way, whatever, is to be able to converse and connect ideas, right?
Communicate them. Yeah,
I mean, communicate them.
right.
I'm
I
too
don't think you
tired to
need to
actually know
apologize for
what the
that, but
value of the
you're getting
name was.
cheers from the audience of olds in the
Yeah. I'd like to
yeah,
get cheers
man.
from I'd like to get cheers from the audience of news, only so that they understand that like not everything has to be. So here's another problem that I'm seeing is when we use the 3D modeling tools, whether it's Rhino, whether it's Revit, or whether it's SketchUp, whatever, you're committing so quickly to an idea without iterating that idea to like just exhaust all sorts of different possibilities before you actually start committing it to something like that seems too permanent. I see them working I on these, like, we had them planning, doing some programming and adjacency diagrams and things like that. And so they're like blocking them out and creating like floor plans and then creating like elevations from them. And I'm like, this is too early. This isn't what, one, this isn't what we asked. But two, what you're doing is you've committed to one idea and you started committing massing and elevations and everything to one idea. Well, what if that one idea is wrong, or maybe not the right way of going about it, or
Not the
you
best.
know, not the
Yeah,
best. And usually your first one, I mean,
not
unless
the best. Yeah,
you're,
usually it
yeah,
depends. It depends. Sometimes you go.
there have
We
been,
we u- we used to do 5 versions and be like, oh, version one actually was on the right track. Yeah. But
yeah,
it was still worth seeing these other ones to actually understand that number one was the right one.
exactly.
That happened.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Again,
remember using these tools though that you're talking about and doing exactly what you're talking about. You totally can do it in 3D modeling tools, but
well,
you're
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't. You have to fully know that like this is going to get most likely thrown away, and you have to treat them non-preciously. And I think what you're saying is like
Okay, thank you.
there's this thing that they're just latching on to this idea too early and saying
That
like this, I'm committing to this one without doing all that
Okay.
experimentation.
So that's actually, you've articulated it far better than I did. That's where I was going, is like they're treating that first idea as the precious idea, the final idea, and not giving it a chance to grow and germinate and develop other ideas from that and even sometimes when you're talking to them and you see the look in their eyes when you say, well, maybe have you thought about doing this, or what about that? Have
You can see
you,
the
you know,
emotional
you
attachment.
can see the emotional attachment almost like deflating. And then you sort of have to like reel it back a little bit and say, look, I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong. I'm just saying, did you give it a chance to be something else? And they don't really fully understand that that's a thing. Like, don't treat ideas so precious, because client's not going to treat your ideas precious. They're going to say, all right, okay, yeah, that looks good. How much is it going to cost? You know,
Well, and
and
I think there, yeah, and it's important to distinguish between precious and fragile. Like I believe like ideas are fragile and it's not worth being too harsh on ideas early. It's like
absolutely
let
not, though.
I
You're
just
right.
want to
You're
make
right.
sure we're clear about that because and I guess when I said earlier like these ideas are likely going to get thrown away, like that might be true and it might not be true. I guess obviously there you can't put everything under these blanket statements, but it's very much like you have to actually try to break your ideas with new ideas and see if
Yeah.
they work. You have to be rigorous about that process as you
Yeah.
go through it to achieve the best ideas.
So, and this is, again, you're right. And this is where I'm going. It's that because of the way that they produce the idea, they think that that's like the one and done. This is good enough, without the multiple opportunities for iterations and exploration and ideating and optioneering and all of these other things, and just following the path to something else to just see where it leads you. And if it leads you right back around to where you started, great. But give yourself that opportunity. And I think that so many people get so locked into that. I've spent so much time making a model. Why do I have to come up with another idea? Or I've spent so much time like laying this out in this software. Why do I need to do it again? And I
Yeah.
literally have had this conversation. It's like, well, isn't this good enough? It, why aren't you asking yourself that? Like, why aren't
Yeah.
you
Well,
asking yourself,
so I'm
is
curious,
that,
are you seeing, because I think as a parent, I'll just put it that way, that I've seen a lack of mm, creative endeavor from and I'm not going to assign it to a generation for sure, but definitely individuals. And I'm just curious what you were kind of seeing trend wise because to me like there's an insatiable curiosity about really digging into a design project and
oh, yeah,
really
yeah,
digging into that design exploration and iteration and there's an excitement and a like it's fueling, right? And
yeah.
I'm just curious, like, do you see that spark? Or it's not across the board. It's going to be, I'm
It,
sure, a spectrum within a class, but
it's definitely a spectrum within the class. I mean, there's some that are just like,
it
okay,
always has been.
I've,
Yeah, yeah.
I've met the assignment. And,
I've done the
and
minimum, code minimum.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think we've sat there and we've told them, it's like, this is the fun part. This is when you get to just create ideas and like see them come alive. And they're like, yeah, but the assignment says that I need to come up with 3 plans, and I came up with 3 plans. So can we call this
Bare
done?
minimum. Yeah.
Like, no, no, no. Three is what you need to come up with. 300 is what you should be just wanting
Weaving
to
down to
do.
3. Yeah.
Like,
Right.
why would you want to stop, like, just playing around, having fun, doing something, like making something out of nothing, and then seeing how you can make that nothing something else and something else and something else and so on. It and ultimately there is a point when you say, okay, I've got to stop designing, and that's usually what, around like 95% CDs. But
Construction.
exactly. Oh, so you've dealt with some of my client. No.
I've it's not just limited to you.
Yeah, I know. I know. But it's just like how, like, just what I'm trying to get to, this is the fun stuff. This is the, like,
You're
when you
trying to
have the
encourage
opportunity,
them. Yeah.
when you have this opportunity to just explore your ideas, and obviously in school there is literally no budget. So it's just like, let's do something crazy. Or let's do something conservative, or let's do something in between, or let's do whatever. Not just say, okay, I've met the project brief.
Mhm.
Can call it done. It's like, if you've got like 6 weeks of concept design, why not 6 week concept design your ass off? Like, why not, like, have fun for those 6 weeks? Because then you're going to start slowly but surely rein it in. You're going to go to schematic design. But then you're going to get to see like this to become to this to become to this. It's just like, it, it then becomes something else. But you can
Sure.
see, when it's in CDs, you can see, hopefully, you can see, here's where the concept was, and like all the strings that got you to that one. But you're like, what? It still kind of kept the essence of that. And it's because you had so much fun and you like found what was like precious to you, that you then brought through to like construction documents and CDs and DDs and all this other stuff. So it's like trying to convey to them that, like, get excited about this.
Because when you get into the real world, you're not going to even get to do this. You don't get how many people actually get to do that kind of thing in architecture. It's a very small number compared to how many people are doing it in school.
True. Like, everybody's doing it in school, but is everybody going to be doing it in the real world? No.
The answer is no. Just letting everybody know. The answer is no.
Ouch. Why are you trying to like break everybody's heart so early on?
Why aren't you telling them the truth?
No, I actually try. I try to. I try to tell everyone the truth, whether or not they're ready and willing to listen to it. It's a different story. The biggest challenge, honestly, is staying positive about it. Because I mean, there's sometimes that just the profession beats you down, and you want to encourage. Like, for me, I don't even know if I want to start down this line of conversation, but it's just like, for me, there's always something fun about it, even in the slog of things. But it's not that way for everybody, and it's not that way 99% of the time, right?
Yeah.
And so I, I don't oh, I don't feel like
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think that
okay.
is a very valid and interesting thing for you to like. I obviously it takes some vulnerability to even like open up a little bit about that, and I think that that's the kind of thing that actually is necessary because
Yeah.
it's it's a difficult conversation, It's a difficult reality, right?
You want people to be excited about this profession, but that there's a lot of times that the profession's not that exciting. And but you gotta teach them, tell them, show them that, okay, so maybe not every day is a bed of roses, but the times that you get those bed of roses and then the rest of the time when you're getting the thorns, it's worth it. And and sometimes it's really, really hard to convey that without sounding so overly negative about it.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of times like we've talked a little bit and I've tried to like mask like saying things when we talk in on the podcast, saying things that I'm pretending they're hypotheticals when they're like
Right.
the reality that I'm living, that it's just like, wow, that sounds really shitty. Why would we be doing that? But then you're like, okay, but think about this. All of the pain and suffering that we've gone through for this, think about what we've done. Think about what we've accomplished. Think about what we've created. Yes, it sucked to get here, but look where we are.
Mm.
And that's the thing that sometimes we don't stop to
Yeah.
to appreciate that. And I guess that's even like the nostalgia that we talk about when we talk about the joy of like sketching with a paper and pencil isn't necessarily about this like way versus new way kind of thing. It's more just about the joy of creation.
Mm. Hmm.
And that's the thing that I hope that when we talk, I hope when I talk in class, I hope when I talk in the just with clients and with colleagues and stuff like that, that's what is conveyed is that look, you're gonna get you're gonna get kicked in places you don't want to get kicked, but at the end of the day, like what really kicks you, here's where I get all sappy. What really kicks you is the fact that you got to do it in the first damn place.
Super privilege. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
And
yeah.
and it just I don't know that other things are that different. I mean, think about professional athletes or
Yeah.
F1 drivers. You went to the F1 race. How much
Yeah.
time is actually spent winning?
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
person gets to win a race for a
Yeah.
moment at the
Yeah.
end of all of that hard work, right? And okay, next race. But it's kind of like that in architecture too. When you're on the
Yeah.
architecture side, it's like there's
Yeah.
phases and tasks and all these things. You get to the end and it's built. It's like, man, awesome. Architect doesn't get congratulated at the ceremony, all that stuff, right? But then
Just
photographs and awards and what okay, and next project. And it's this interesting cycle that everything goes through. And it's actually there's a lot of things that are comparable as far as like how much fun versus hard work versus payoff and then privilege is all part of that. And I'm by privilege,
yeah.
I just mean like that pride in the privilege to get to do pretty incredible stuff to create the built environment for people on this planet,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I mean, I was telling my A students, and I think I probably said it here as well, is that just think about the opportunities that architects have. Is think about like in I know you're probably gonna say, yeah, yeah, we talked about this, but think about like what we really get to do and how many lives we affect that we never know. How many like emotions we get to be had in a place that we've created that we'll never know about. Memories that will be created by people we will never know. And if you can't like romanticize about the profession that way, and you just think that it's kind of like a slog and if you look at it as just a job, maybe this isn't what you should be doing.
So I hope you're weeding those people out of school right now, Cormac.
No, I'm hope I to be quite honest with you, I hope we the professors are hoping to inspire them to just find the simple joy in what they're doing. Because if you don't bring that, if you do not bring that joy to the stuff that you're doing, is it really going to be that good?
I think it's important for you to show that potential, and you get to show that potential through real world experience and see that potential in these students
Yeah.
that they don't know that they have, and figure out a way to get it out in front of their future, for their own
Yeah.
future.
And make them
So
stop thinking that it's just a bunch of box checking for an assignment. And unfortunately, though, systems, academia, profession, whatever, is a series.
licensing, yep, anything.
Licensing,
There's many parts
you
to that.
know,
Yep.
it's all about like
CEs,
the,
and some going to be my world here in a
box,
minute.
the box checking.
Yes.
I don't have to worry about that.
I know you don't.
have to worry about that.
If you could pass me some under the table. Thanks.
You know what? I don't know why well, you're like, why can't you share CEs with someone else? Because that would be great if I could pass you along. Because
I could use them. Oh man.
pretty sure I'm over.
You're good for 3 years probably in a year. Maybe more.
I don't even know how many I have right now. I mean, I know I'm good. I know I'm good, but
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
All right. Well, I don't know. Was this an uplifting conversation? Was this where do we how do you rate this one?
Yeah, I rate it is just have hope, have belief, have faith. You chose this for a reason, right?
And also the realities of the profession. Yeah.
Oh, there's the realities of the profession.
Yeah.
Oh, 48.5.
48 and a half C's. Jeez. It's a lot of hours.
And you only need 18.
Well, I need 24 for Oregon and 10 for California.
Well, so AIA National, you need 18, 22, well, 24 for Florida and 24 for Maryland. And I have them all.
Yes, you do. You have all the C's.
I have all the C. And I'm pretty sure you know what my last one was? Advanced bird-friendly glass design.
Oh, that sounds good. I think the
Yeah.
birds would like that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, what
problem.
was interesting is as they were showing, and this is innovative, and this is the new innovation. And I'm thinking to myself, what do you mean new innovation? I did that like 8 years ago. That same exact thing. I think that, you sure that's not my project? Because that's what I did.
Kudos to you.
See,
All right.
finding joy. Clearly, it's finding joy in what you do, right?
Yeah.
'Cause
You,
if
you were
you're-
made for this.
You got 48.5 dang CEUs. I don't need
Yeah.
them.
All right. Until
Anyway,
next time.
Yeah, let's go.